Hey, Joe here. Tonight, I'm getting ready to take my race car up to the local track for a Thursday night test and tune. Just gotta get it out of there and load it into there. All right, all loaded up. We got this little guy standing guard for me, making sure nobody tries any funny business. All right, here at Bradenton Motorsports Park, suiting up, getting ready to make my first test hit. First test hit. First test hit. First test hit. All right, well, that didn't work out. I got the car loaded up, I got the car unloaded, I tested the stall, and I got ready to go to the lanes to make a hit, and the car didn't have reverse. It seems to have forward in every gear. Like, park moves forward until it hits the park. It's, I don't know what's up. But I'm about to start it up on the lift, and gonna see what it does when I put it through the gears. So, it's time, you know, for the fuel pump noise. You know the one. I'm going to show you what the transmission does in first, second, third, and then neutral, so you can see. All right, that's third. Now I'm going to go to neutral. We're going to try reverse. That's not right. All right, we're going to drain the fluid on this thing, and we're going to remove the pan so that we can take a look at the valve body, because that's where I suspect we have issues. I cleaned up this pan so that I can drain this fluid into the pan and reuse it, because it's basically new. Man, this is a long drain plug. Some of these bolts on the pan are tough to get to, so I'll use this wrench on those, get them out of there, and then I'll switch over to this little mini impact to pull those things out quick. We'll see what's under there. Man, this one's tough. I need a shorter wrench. All right, I'm gonna do some more testing here. I'm gonna use the shop air to test some stuff in here. Doing it on recommendation from some people that are smarter than me, like usual, so let's see what happens here. All right, well, that works. You can see that band apply up in this area right here. Now I'm gonna test the front drum, which, well, there's one of these is the front and one of these is the forward. That's not confusing at all, but let's see what we get if we do this. Yeah, I can hear it clicking. That's working. Let's try this other one. Yeah, you can hear that. A little bit of clicking, clanking around in there. I think that's good, but I had these couple loose bolts on the valve body, and I think that's my problem. So instead of spending a bunch of time cleaning that valve body up, I'm just gonna throw it in here, bolt it in, put some fresh fluid in here that basically is just gonna be a flush. Test it real quick, and hopefully if it works, just drain that flush fluid out, put some good stuff in there, and move on. All right, valve body's back in and the filter's back in. I'm just going to use the old filter, put some cheap fluid through, and then I'll replace the filter when I put the good fluid back in. Now I just have to wash out the pan real quick and install it. All right, the pan's on. Putting some SuperTech ATF in here to flush this thing out. Tom says the SuperTech does not smell fragrant. What does it smell like, Tom?
It smells horrible.
So I've now smelled the SuperTech, and I can tell you that Tom's not exaggerating. It smells like formaldehyde or something. Hopefully it just washes all the garbage out of the trans. All right, let's see what happens. We're in park. Let's start this thing up. Still broke. With all the fluid drained, I just got to pull this pan. I'm going to take that valve body out and see if I can get a better look at the adjustment on the second gear servo. Got the pan down again, got the filter off. I've already disconnected the Kigley mod wiring up there, so I can pass that wire through when I remove this valve body again. I'm not going to lie. I don't really like getting dirty. I'm kind of sissy about it. This job is not for the I don't like getting dirty type. Alright, there's the valve body removed. Up here where it lived. What I'm trying to take a look at is the second gear band apply. And you can see this right here. This is the drum. This is the band. It wraps all the way around this drum. It comes back to this side. Has a tab that pushes against this fixed portion here. And then it has this servo that applies the band by putting pressure on it there. When it puts pressure on it there, the band then grabs the outside of that drum. It just pinches on it and holds on to it. I suspect it might be grabbing on there, and that's why the car seems to be in second gear all the time. But I'm looking at that servo right there, that little servo rod. It looks right. It looks like it did the first time I opened it up. So I'm not sure. I understand there's a way to measure the adjustment on that. I think that's what I'm going to look into next. Next step is to take this parts transmission I have. You can see I've taken this pump out. That's actually the pump from my trans. Earlier I swapped it out. And I'm going to pull this valve body out and put it in my transmission and see if it works. Alright, got the other valve body in, the pan on. Now we're going to put some fluid in here and see what happens. Alright, spare valve body's in there. We're in park. And we're going to start her up. Alright, put on the brake, reverse. Still broke. Back in the garage again, working on this transmission. Again. Under here and drain that fluid one more time. I'm pulling this spare valve body out. I'm going to put it in that other transmission so I can put it away and have more room on the floor here to work on this transmission. So I have my original valve body here, and I have the spare valve body that I tried in my transmission here. Something I noticed while I was messing with it was that this wiring here on this valve body is nice and soft. Also, the wiring is intact to the pressure control solenoid. So if I went to a system that controlled that, this one would work. This one would not. So that's a problem. And this wire is really stiff. Like, it's pretty much stuck in this shape, and it's kind of a pain to work with. So I'm gonna go ahead and move these solenoids and wiring over to my main valve body here. And hopefully I'm not moving any problems that exist in these solenoids over here. So keep an eye out for that in future videos. Let's do it. Gonna drag this transmission over here and get it on this tray so I can start working on it. Just like that. Might as well run a thread chaser through those pads before I pull that converter out of there. Start tearing this thing down. So I used the slide hammer to get the pump out to look inside the transmission here, and I'm realizing there's some passages around here that fluid passes through, and I don't know, I'm just throwing stuff up against the wall to see what sticks. I wonder if the gasket on this pump was maybe leaking. It looks kind of wet right there, wetter than it is over here, where it looks relatively dry here, but wet right there. I don't know. We'll see. Isn't that supposed to come apart? Okay, I'm getting kind of carried away here, but I popped off that pump. I pulled out that shaft, which had this front drum, as well as this forward drum, I think. They were kind of stuck to it with this thing on the backside. I was able to lift the front drum off, which is normal, but I had trouble getting that backside of the drum off this part of this drum. I tapped it out. It wasn't too hard once I tapped it on something, but I can see there's some black residue on this thing. And down in here there's black. It doesn't look good. It looks burnt up. I'm gonna pop this circlip out and take this apart and see what it looks like inside. I don't expect it to look good. Alright, with one hand, I'm gonna try and show you what I found here. I found that these are destroyed. That's pretty difficult to show, like I said, with one hand. Let me give it a shot though. Stuff right here. These things look terrible. Oh, I think they're welded together. Yeah, these are definitely stuck together and basically screwed. Time to dig into the old spare transmission. The clutches in the front drum looked really good in this transmission when I switched the Kigley ones into that drum. Hopefully, the clutches in the rear drum are in just as good a shape. I'll just go ahead and move them. Well, I was going to use these clutches from this spare transmission, but I didn't like the way this hub was fitting in here. And if you look at that fourth layer down, you can see some of those teeth are screwed up. So I'm gonna have to take that apart and get some replacement parts for that. I got this new set of clutches and steels, and I've had these clutches soaking in ATF for a while. Looks like they've soaked a bunch of it up. Anyway, getting ready to install them in that rear drum from my other transmission and put it in my transmission. Alright, I got everything together here. The new clutches and steels are in. I just gotta get it to go in there. After more tries than I'd like to talk about, I got all this stuff back inside the transmission. And it's kind of late at this point, but all I have to do is put this pump in there, and this thing's ready to hoist back in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so that next time I get out here, I can hoist that thing up in the car, hook everything back up, and test it. Hopefully we got it right at this point. There we go. Just gonna drop that converter in there. I would video it, but I don't know where my tripod is, and this takes two hands. All right, the transmission's up in place. I threw a bolt in right there so it doesn't fall down on me. While I go under here, put this axle back in, put that axle back in. I actually have to pull that pan. It's only on there with a couple bolts. I gotta put the filter on there and gasket and all the bolts. Finish up everything down here. Oh yeah, I gotta do converter bolts. Right in there. And then I can lower the car down and finish everything up here. I think I have everything buttoned up down here. So I'm gonna get that fluid out from under here, and then I'm gonna lower this thing down and finish up the top side. Here we are again. Transmission's got fluid in it. Just getting it charged up here. I'm gonna start it up and see if this thing works now. The transmission seems to work. Now I'm going to use this pressure gauge on some of the test ports on the bottom of the transmission. I want to make sure I have the right amount of pressure going to that forward clutch. Then I'll know whether or not it's going to melt again when I try to use it. I'm in the familiar situation of doing something I've never done before. I'm going to test this pressure. There's these ports right here. If you look right there, there's a couple of bolts. They're labeled. You see that RCFC? I'm pretty sure that's rear clutch, front clutch. There's a pressure reduction port. There's a DR. I don't know what that means. There's a DA right there too. I don't know, if I thought about it, I might figure it out. But I'm pretty sure RC is rear clutch, and that's what I want to check. So I'm going to screw this thing in there and see what I come up with. Alright, so I saw 30 PSI there on that port, which I didn't think was good, so I looked in the manual, and it says I should see like 118 to 128 is the range. I'm sure that's on a stock transmission, but as far as I know, this modified transmission, the pressures are turned up, not down, so that's not right. I'm going to go ahead and check the other ports here, at least the front clutch. I just checked the rear. I'm going to check the front and see what it looks like, and do the thing where I talk to some people who are smarter than me again and see what we come up with.
What was that?
It had 120 in third. Yeah, right. Okay, so clearly there's still a problem here. I don't know what it is. I'm talking to some people about it, but I'm hoping it's in the valve body, and that my next step is just to drain the fluid and pull the valve body rather than have to pull the transmission out again. It's kind of a pain, but honestly, I'm learning stuff, and that's good. I now know so much more about how this automatic transmission works, so I'm going to learn some more, I guess, and hopefully get this thing right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Put cheese on it.